Hey everyone, Wyduck welcoming you to Game 2 of a Best of 3 series from the WCS Season 2 European Tournament, and from Group F Action Play in the round of 32, and this time on Star Station. We've got spawning in the bottom left as the Red Terran, representing Mouse Sports. We've got Lucifron. And we'll have to see if Lucifron is able to maintain his success from the previous game over his opponent, spawning in the top right as the Blue Zerg. Representing Team Acer, we've got Bly. It looks like Bly is going to be opening up with an early extractor, just for that extractor trick, just to get that extra drone out before he needs that Overlord. And it looks like his opening might be very similar to the previous game, where he's going to be going for hatchery first at that expansion. Now Lucifron is going to be going for the barracks, it looks like, at the ramp into his main base. And maybe he's going to be going for Reapers once again. Do I see a refinery queued up? No, not as of yet. There we go. So possibly very similar play to the previous game where Lucifron was the victor, going for early Reapers to do some harassing. And on Star Station, Reapers are very effective because there's only one level to jump into the main. And there's so many large divots. This is particularly very, very dangerous as the Zerg player, because this area is one area where Reapers can jump up and it won't be detected generally because there are no overlords or structures or anything here. And so Bly might have some problems. Now, Bly is behind in this series 1-0, so he needs to find a way to defeat Lucifron, because in the previous game, it seemed like from the get-go, Lucifron just had a much better beat, and he was winning all the confrontations. And even though near the end of the game, Bly was able to get some good Baneling connections, if you check out my cast, Lucifron was down, Bly was down by a significant amount of supply by about the halfway point of the game, and he wasn't really able to do anything after that. He was going to surprise Lucifron, I think, with some mutas, but unfortunately Lucifron attacked a few of his expansions, the mutalists were revealed, and he couldn't do much from that point. So we'll have to see in Game 2 if Bly is going to adapt here. Now, we do have that first Reaper out already. We do have 2 Zerglings and a Queen on the training tab for Bly, but the Reaper is going to make it there before the Queens are able to pop out. So this Reaper might be able to do some damage, because Zerglings obviously are not very good against Reapers. There we go, the jump up into the main, not even checking out the natural. And so it looks like the Reaper is going to be playing Ring Around the Rosie with these Zerglings, going to jump back down and jump back up. And that is the utility of these Reapers, just able to cliff jump so well. And now it looks like the flank might be established. The Zerglings can't get the flank on the Reaper. The Reaper has to be very careful here because Lucifron does not have sight of the high ground. And so if he jumps into the wrong position, he can easily lose this Reaper. But it looks like this Reaper will be able to escape once again, but not doing any real damage. If you look at this Reaper, he has 0 kills. So unfortunately, it looks like this Reaper harass, even though generally it's more effective on Star Station, is not going to be able to do anything at all. Bly with a very, very solid defensive play, keeping that Reaper out. And now with Queens at both bases, as well as Zerglings near this cliff, this Reaper is not going to be able to do too much. Lucifron might be able to just constantly go back and forth just to annoy Bly, but I don't think he's going to do any real damage with this Reaper. Reaper constantly is running back and forth and not doing much else. Now, we do have the lair coming, so this is very interesting. Bly going for that quick lair. So maybe he wants to get some Mutalists out very quickly. Obviously, he wants to win the tech battle against his Terran opponent. Now, Lucifron, on the other hand, is getting his 3rd command center. It's almost complete, and we're not even at the 6.5 minute mark. At the same time, he is going to be going for tanks again. He went for 1 tank in the previous game, and it really worked out because there was a Zergling and Roach attack that was thwarted by 1 tank and a few other units. So Lucifron, with his spider sets, detecting an incoming attack. But it doesn't look like Bly is trying to attack this time. He's really droning up very heavily. 6 more drones are on the way. So Bly really wants to rush to the later stages of the game, it looks like. Now that lair is complete. There we go. The Spire is going to go down. Now, one of the things that Bly is really sacrificing here, because he's going for that quick tech, is a possible quick third. And he's also sacrificing... the Reaper was able to get in there, but was he able to see that Spire? He was able to spot the Spire. So now that Spire has been detected by Lucifron. So the Spire will not be much of a surprise for our Terran player. But as I was saying, one of the things you do when you're going for a quick lair, especially on 2 bases, is that you're sacrificing a lot of creep spread. So now at the 7.5 minute mark, he just put down his first creep tumor, and he's getting some creep spread with the use of his overlords. So generally, this is not very good for the later stages of the game, simply because it makes your overlords sitting ducks. And he also doesn't have connection of creep between his main and his natural, so if he wants to use those queens as defense, he might have some problems. This overlord seems to be moving into position. There we go. Going to be finishing that creep spread. That Spire is almost complete, but it looks like we've got a few more barracks on the way, as well as missile turrets going up. We currently have 3 missile turrets under construction, and with the assistance of that bunker and this production area with a whole bunch of Marines just waiting around, I'm not sure if these quote-unquote surprise mutas are going to do too much, because that Reaper was able to spot it. Lucifron is preparing for it very well. Now, I find it odd that Lucifron doesn't actually have a missile turret near his workers. He actually has them on the periphery, on to the left and to the right of his refineries. So this will be interesting to see if this positioning is better than putting it at your workers, because generally Mutalisks want to fly into your worker line and create havoc. Now, we do have those aforementioned Mutalisks moving across the screen. We do have 7 in the middle of the map. Like I said, Lucifron is basically prepared. He has quite a few missile turrets and a whole bunch of Marines waiting around. So the Mutalisks are just looking for an opening. Now, they are going to find these engineering bays, but they take a while to shoot down, and unfortunately, now Bly knows it's been 100% confirmed the Mutalisks have been spotted, and he is going to retreat back. We still have more Mutalisks under construction, as well as a Baneling's nest. Now, with 3 bases, if you're trying to make more Mutalisks and Banelings, you're going to need more gas, so Bly really needs to get this gas going, and there he is. The scan does go down, able to spot that 3rd hatchery. But also, a lot of these Zerg eggs are being used, and Mutalisks are popping out, so this might give a clue to Lucifron that a big incoming attack might be on the way. Now, unfortunately for Lucifron, he doesn't have a lot of missile turrets at this natural, so the Mutalisks were able to do some damage to this refinery, but these Marines are going to stop that, at least temporarily. Now, Lucifron has been able to claim his 3rd base as well. And he also has the 1-1 upgrades compared to the 0-0 upgrades of his Zerg opponent. So Lucifron has a large upgrade window here compared to his Zerg opponent. And it'll be interesting to see. He does have the the armory down. He has just started 2-2. So it looks like Lucifron is going to have the upgrade advantage probably for the rest of the game, unless Bly is able to do something like destroy the engineering base. This is going to be difficult because generally 1-1 stimmed units just do so much DPS, especially against Zerg units with no upgrades. But Bly is trying to find an opening with these Mutalisks. He just hasn't been able to do so. We've got about 12 here. At the same time, he is going to be going for his 4th base, but it might be difficult for him to defend it because most of his army is consistent of Mutalisks. He does have 47 Zerglings. And it looks like these Mutalisks are going to be flying away. At the same time, Lucifron is going to take control of the West Zelnaga Tower. But unfortunately, he's going to lose control at the South Zelnaga Tower. The Zerglings are now occupying that position. So both players are really just fighting in the middle of the map. Neither player really wants to engage and commit to a full-out attack. This might be an opening for Bly. He does have the Mutalisks over on the left side of the map. Unfortunately, Lucifron, sensing something was going awry because he lost control of that Zelnaga Tower, is moving his Marines into position. And once again, these Mutalisks really haven't been able to do too much. Because you have to remember, the strength of the Mutalisks is that they can really do hit and runs very effectively. They regenerate life quickly, they have a bouncing attack, and they are flying units, so they can avoid terrain and fly over chasms and elevated areas, and that's their strength. They're not very good in head-on confrontations. But unfortunately, it looks like now there might be a head-on confrontation forced by Lucifron. He's stimming and moving into Bly's creep. The Zerglings and Banelings are ready to make the call. Unfortunately, they are going to retreat at least temporarily now. Now we do have a line of Widow Mines. The Banelings don't get good connections. Great connection with that last Baneling, able to destroy 6 Marines. And if Bly is able to get more connections like that, Lucifron's army will melt in seconds. Unfortunately, it might be very difficult to get really, really good Baneling connections with so many Widow Mines and Marines in this composition. Now, 2-2 is finished for our Terran player, and unfortunately for Bly, he's still stuck on 1-1. He's just started +2 attacks, but not +2 armor. And Lucifron has started +3 weapons and attacks, as well as Drilling Claws. And I really think the upgrade advantage is going to help Lucifron destroy Bly. We'll have to see what Bly can do here. A great connection with the Baneling. Unfortunately, there's only 2 Marines in that group. And so Lucifron is just waiting outside of Bly's front door. Now, Bly does have this 4th base up and running, and he is collecting that really, really needed gas from those extractors. And it looks like Bly is going to try and fly by again with this large flock of Mutalisks, but Lucifron is going to be moving his Marines south, maybe for a counterattack at that 4th base. Now, Lucifron is able to spot all these Mutalisks. The Mutalisk goes down immediately. So does the second one. Now all the SCVs are exposed. The SCVs are running away. The Marines are stimming in here. The Mutalisks are going to move on to higher ground. Unfortunately, there's so many more missile turrets. The Mutalisks are not going to be able to do too much. They fly to the bottom left corner with the Marines just waiting there. At the same time, Lucifron is moving into that 4th base of Bly's. He's preparing all his Widow Mines. Unfortunately, the Widow Mines are destroyed by those Banelings, but still a pretty good trade getting rid of some Banelings. And now it looks like the Banelings are rolling in here, able to run by a whole bunch of Marines, some good connections, but not very good overall. And it looks like the Marines are going to be able to stim in here, clean up at least 1 creep tumor, and Lucifron is going to drop with 1 medevac. Very interesting play, splitting up his army. And he's going to drop at that aforementioned little divot there. No, he's going to drop right behind the mineral line at that 3rd base. There are no Spine or Spore Crawlers here. At the same time, the Mutalisks are trying to harass the main base, scaring away a lot of those SCVs, but Bly is going to have to retreat once again. But at the same time, a lot of damage is being done at this 3rd base. The Overlords are going down as well. So Lucifron is doing significant damage here. The Zerglings are coming in here, not able to destroy any Marines. At the same time, Bly goes for another run by, able to destroy 1 missile turret. But like I said, Bly is also under attack at his main base. The Queen is taking some substantial damage. The Transfuse does go down. Ultralisk Cavern does get destroyed. No cancel. Great pickoff by Lucifron. And these Marines are really worth their weight in gold. Finally, most of them are destroyed by the Zerglings and Mutalisks. But at the same time, we have another smaller attack at this 3rd base. More drops are incoming at the natural. So Lucifron is dropping at 2 places at once. The Mutalisks are trying to return back to base, but the Marines are just wreaking so much havoc and damage. And the Baneling does get a good connection, but unfortunately, there's still Marines left on the high ground. And with 3-3 weapons, these 2-1 Zerglings and Banelings are just melting under all this stimmed gunfire. And once again, the drones are under attack. Losing many drones is Bly. He's already lost 20 at this point. The Mutalisks are going to come in here and help clean up the rest of these Marines. The Medevacs are going to try and boost away, but at the same time, the Marines and Widow Mines are going to try and reinforce this position. A great Widow Mine connection at the end, 13 kills. And now Lucifron has built up a 40 supply advantage. At the same time, the Banelings are rolling in here, able to destroy some Widow Mines, but I don't think that was really worth it. And now with Lucifron able to stabilize his 4th base, and Bly only on 3, I think Lucifron is in a very, very good position. He's ahead by 50 supply, and he's also planted Widow Mines at this 4th base that isn't done constructing. Spine Crawlers are going up, so Bly is going to try and defeat these Widow Mines and these Marines with a huge flock of Mutalisks. At the same time, the Marines from Lucifron are going to rush into the 3rd base. Banelings get great connections, destroying about a 1/3 of that Marine force, but Lucifron just has so many units coming out of those barracks constantly that Bly is not really able to force the Terran Armada back at all. Now, we do have 8 Ultralisks on the way, and they might be able to do some damage here, but Ultralisks really, really need something to keep the Terran army locked in position. Something like fungal growths are very good for Ultralisks. Otherwise, this Marine and Marauder Deathball will just stim and kite those Ultralisks all day. So I think Bly really needs to get some Infestors or something else. Otherwise, he needs to have greater positioning, possibly a flank position, so those Terran units can't run away and kite. But unfortunately, right now, I really don't see that coming out of Bly. It looks like he's just committed to building Ultralisks and Banelings for some splash damage. Now, we'll have to see who's going to come out on top here. Lucifron is going to be moving in here. Now, the Marines and Marauders are in the yellow and red. The Medivacs, there aren't that many, so unfortunately, they're not able to heal these units that effectively. Now, it looks like we're going to get another engagement at this 4th base. Ultralisks are moving in here. But like I said, these Marines and Marauders are going to be cutting back and forth, able to destroy 2 Ultralisks. And now it looks like we're going to get pathogen glands from Bly. He's thinking the exact same thing. He needs some fungal growths. But unfortunately, Lucifron is constantly just at the front door of this 4th base. Now, Bly is moving the Spore Crawler ahead. I'm not sure why. It's going to get taken out immediately. It's not going to be able to burrow itself. But there's one thing that's kind of hurting it for Lucifron is he doesn't have that many Medivacs. Like I said before, if he's able to get some fungal growth down or some splash damage from these Banelings, a lot of these units would go down in a very, very quick moment. But it looks like Lucifron is going to pick up and drop right behind the mineral line at this 4th base once again, claiming high ground advantage as well as the low ground. And unfortunately, these melee units, like these Ultralisks and Zerglings, are not able to get this around. And Lucifron is just going to pick up and boost away once again. This time, he's going to be dropping, it looks like, at that 3rd once again, but the Mutalisks are here. Mutalisks are going to be able to clean up these Medivacs, so Bly is able to hold. Now, remember, as a Zerg player, you generally want one more base than your non-Zerg opponents. But Bly is stuck on 4 bases, but so is Lucifron. So right now, it looks like the economy is going to go to Lucifron, the economic advantage, excuse me. So Bly, I really think, needs to kill one of these bases or make another base of his own. Unfortunately, he's spending all his resources on trying just to defend his 4th base. The Ultralisks are constantly being shot at for free. Another Ultralisk goes down doing no damage. And Lucifron is just going to flee into his Widowmine wall, able to destroy a lot of Zerglings. Unfortunately, these Marauders are out of life. They cannot stim anymore, and they are going to be destroyed. But Lucifron just has such a huge army and an economy, and he's also getting a 5th base up. He hasn't even turned it into a planetary fortress. No missile turrets yet. There we go. It is going to be upgrading. And I think Bly needs to counterattack it right now. He is going to be sending Zerglings there. Now, the Zerglings have to be very careful, because if they're not able to destroy this command center before it turns into a planetary fortress, those Zerglings are going to be dead ducks. So if Lucifron starts repairing, this might be a problem. Now, the Zerglings are doing significant damage, but at the same time, the 4th base of Bly is under attack. We've got action on the left and right side of the maps at the same time. The Zerglings have been able to do a lot of damage to all those SCVs, picking off a lot. But at the same time, the Ultralisks have not been able to really adequately defend this 4th base. And it looks like the Ultralisks are going to be able to push it away, at least temporarily. Unfortunately, it just means that all the Marauders and Marines are going to be dumped right behind the mineral line. And these Ultralisks cannot hit above ground. These Spine Crawlers can. Unfortunately, one does go down. The second one is not looking very well either. And now the Mutalisks are going to be able to come in here and clean up the rest of these Marauders. I guess that's one of the benefits of having Mutalisks against Marauders. The Marauders can't fight back. Now, Lucifron is going to try and reestablish his 5th base once again. He does have some Marines and Marauders as well as Widowmines in place. And he's getting that upgrade for that planetary fortress a lot earlier. But if this base is going to be stabilized for a while, I don't think Bly has any way of coming back. There's just too much power difference in the army, and there's going to be too much economic advantage given to our Terran player over Bly. So Bly really needs to settle down here, but unfortunately he can't. Lucifron is constantly pushing into the 4th base, and even though the Ultralisks are here and now the Infestors are here as well, the Fungal Growth do go down, trapping a lot of these Marauders. It's really difficult for melee units to deal with these ridges from the Xel'Naga Tower as well as this ramp going up. So it's very difficult for Bly to defend this position. He's going to lose another Ultralisk as well. He's going to try and reestablish this 4th hatchery, but he's just so far behind. He's down by about 45 supply. Lucifron's got his 5th base up with a planetary fortress as well as Widowmines in position. And I really don't see how Bly's going to be able to come back from this. He's got a lot of Ultralisks. He's got Corruptors on the way as well. And he still has a few Mutalisks, but these Marauders just do so much damage through that Marauder hide. And it looks like this fourth hatchery is going to go down once again. No cancel. Fungal Growths are able to catch some of the Marines, excuse me, the Marauders and Medivacs. But it looks like Lucifron is able to reinforce his position. He is almost maxed out. And now it looks like this might be the coup de grace once again. A lot of Fungal Growths do trap a lot of units. Unfortunately, there are no Ultralisks to do the rest of the splash damage that is required to finish them off. And so these Mutalisks are going to have to flee. Bly is almost out of resources at his third, at his natural. He's out at his main. And so now he's really starving for resources. He's down by 100 supply. His opponent is maxed out. Lucifron is going to win this game. And unfortunately for Bly, I mean, he played okay, but Lucifron was just really aggressive, especially with all the drops, and he wasn't able to really deal with that. And all the harassment that Bly tried to do with the Mutalisk, unfortunately, was countered once that Reaper spotted that Spire. Immediately, Lucifron put up a whole bunch of missile turrets all around his base. He had a whole bunch of Marines waiting by those barracks. And so Lucifron, from that point on, he was just ahead of the game. He knew what his opponent was doing, and Bly wasn't able to do very much. He wasn't able to react, change his strategy. So Bly is going to go down 2-0 to Lucifron. Very interesting play. I really like Lucifron's play styles, but good game by both players. Once again, Lucifron is able to take the series 2-0, and I hope to see you guys next time.